Welcome to From Combat Boots to Business Suits, the podcast brought to you by the Officers Association Scotland. My wonderful guest today is Connor Maxwell, co-founder and coach at Speech Hub UK. Welcome to the show, Connor.
Thanks for having me on.
It's such a pleasure to have you. Now, I was extremely fortunate about 2 months ago to do one of your Speech Hub workshops right here in this room, actually.
That's right.
And it was hands down one of the best workshops we have ever had come into the OAS.
Amazing.
And the client feedback that we got was phenomenal. And in the middle of that workshop, I was thinking, we have to have you on the podcast because your story and your journey, especially post-military, has been so unique. And Speech Hub is in itself quite a unique addition to the Veterans Services space. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about it today.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and that's really lovely to hear about the workshop as well. So
yeah,
thank you.
Honestly, it was, well, I think we booked you, the next day to come back?
Yeah.
It was a done deal. So, as with any guest that I have on the show, we kind of start at the beginning, because you have had a career in the military yourself. So let's just take it right back. What made you decide to join the military, and give us a bit of an overview of your time in service?
Yeah, okay, wow. So I joined the army straight from school, pretty much. I was 19 when I started Sandhurst, and I can't remember a time when I wasn't interested in pursuing a career in the army at some stage. I remember being at school and everyone was being asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said I wanted to be a soldier, and people thought that was hilarious. I mean, some people wanted to be astronauts and they were idiots.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fun thing. Me being a soldier was.
Yeah.
But I never really lost that urge, and I remember going on battlefield tours at school. Yeah, everything from when I was 11 went to the beaches at D-Day, and then when I was 15, 16 went to northern France and Belgium. And I just remember seeing everything there and thinking, if I was in this position, what would I have done?
Yeah.
If I was here and I was one of those who had to make decisions on the day. And that was always a driver for me. I think family-wise, there was a lot of interest in kind of military history. It was driven from my old man. He didn't join. In fact, I think his father had served, but we never knew him.
Okay.
And fast forward several years, and I went to the army. My brother went to the Navy, and it just kind of came from nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
So without that real lineage, sort of growing up with it, both brothers ended up joining up. That's amazing.
Yeah, taking in very different directions.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting into uniform and spending some time in service. So I went to Sandhurst, and as I say, I was very young when I went through there. I think I was one of the youngest in my intake, and that's because when I left school, I kind of hit this fork in the road and thought, where do I want to go?
Yeah.
I had a few things that were in the on the pipeline that I was thinking about doing, and we'll come to some of that later, I'm sure.
We shall indeed.
Yeah. And at that stage, though, it was the obvious time really for me to be going, just because of what was going on worldwide. And if you want to go and do the job that you're training for, it's definitely the time to go and give it a crack. And so I was lucky enough. I got into Sandhurst, and then at Sandhurst, I was lucky enough to be selected by the regiment I wanted to go and join. So I went to the Rifles, and I was posted to 3 Rifles, their battalion up here in Edinburgh.
Nice.
And I then took a platoon away as a platoon commander and had my 21st birthday in Afghanistan. And it was a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
And came back, had an amazing time serving. I was very, very lucky with my postings and the opportunities that were available for me. And I served for just under 9 years, and got to a stage, I was at one of those natural decision points for an officer. They come along at these kind of milestones in your career when you have a look at what the next 5 years is going to look like. And I got to one of those and thought, I've achieved pretty much all I definitely want to achieve. I don't feel like I've missed anything.
Yes.
So, yeah, where do I want to go? Where do I want to take this? And it was a really tough decision for me to leave the army at that stage, just because I could happily have stayed and had a full career. But I kind of had this mindset of, I don't want to be getting to a point in my life where I'm looking at retirement and look in the mirror and think, what if you tried this instead? I don't want to hold on to any regrets. So better to try something and fall down and know that it didn't work than to never try it and to have that question in my mind eating away at me. So I took a bit of a leap.
You did.
Yeah.
But just before we get into that,
Yeah.
just before we get there, what you said resonates with a lot of interviews that I've done actually, and I think it's a good point that you make, that there are these natural points in an officer's career where you are at a little bit of a fork in the road, and especially the age you must have been then, what, in your early late 20s, early 30s?
Yeah, so I left at 27.
Left at 27, yeah, okay. So that's a good point as well in terms of thinking about, well, what does life look like after service? And of course, the older you get, the more difficult it can be to suddenly carve out an entirely new civilian career. So as you say, actually it was probably a good time to think, I am young enough, dumb enough, and have the will enough and the energy still to just jump completely into something else head first. So I've heard similar things actually from other officers that were at similar stages in life that decided, if I'm going to do something else, I've got to do it now. So yeah, and then we will get into what you decided to do.
Yeah, so so at the time I was posted to the infantry battle school in Brecon in Wales. An amazing posting, and genuinely to the happiest working years I've had. It's such an honour to have been posted there. I worked with some amazing people, and having the opportunity to train young officers who are going to be infantry commanders was absolutely something I wanted to be able to tick off. So it really was a dream posting. But your peers, that level of seniority you're at there, you do get quite a high attrition rate because it's that natural point where people might look to leave.
Yes.
And although the school is quite small, a lot of people who are posted there will tend to see it as maybe a last post before they go. So actually at the time, its retention rates didn't look great in the Army's eyes if you just looked at it on paper. Taking that context into account, it kind of makes sense. But And so one day I was the fourth captain in a day to go into the commanding officer's office, having formally handed in my notice.
Wow.
And those I'd been in with, two of them wanted to go into finance and go work in London. Another one wanted to set up their own business and work with their now wife and explore the world of street food and pretty exciting adventure, which is cool, very, very different.
Very cool.
And yeah, shout out to Ed Chalice. And and then I went in last, and I went in to see the commanding officer, a really lovely guy called Alex Rennie, and he was quite stoic, quite frustrated, I think, was lying on the surface. Very difficult to tell. It was never really someone you physically see.
Yeah.
But there was just a little bit of a frost in the room, and I think the first question was, right, why are you leaving? And I just went, well, Colonel, I want to be an actor. I'm going to go to drama school, and I'm going to go and tread the boards. And I just remember sitting there, and it was one of the weirdest, most awkward silences I've had. It was probably about 10 seconds as he looked at me, processed what I just said, thought, I know absolutely nothing about this, I assume. And just the mood entirely changed in an instant. And it just became this really warm and really enjoyable conversation. Which is, tell me everything about that. What even happens? Where does this come from?
Yes.
And
so tell me all about that. Where does this come from?
Yeah, great question. So going back to what I said before about when I was young, I was kind of drawn to the idea of the Army. At the same time, I loved performing, and I took drama up to A level. So I took it very seriously through my education, and just absolutely loved doing anything to do with that world for a long time. But when I reached that natural fork in the road when I was 18, I left that aside because of the attraction of going and doing the job for real, potentially in the Army.
Sure.
And so I thought I'll leave it, but I never lost that itch. And there is that old kind of funny joke that everyone's always acting like they know what they're doing in the Army anyway. So I never stopped practicing.
Yeah.
But I was just finding myself drawn to it. And as we've just mentioned there before, you get to that natural point. At that stage, so 27, wasn't married, with a very supportive partner, who's now my wife, and no mortgage at that stage. So I was in a position, if I was ever going to give that a go, it was the right time to try. But it wasn't something I could do in the Army.
Yeah.
I could go and do Amdram and enjoy the ribbing that inevitably would have followed from anyone who might have found that out. not that I'm saying the army's not an open and broad church and people respect other people's passions in life
but
at all.
You
But a friendly
would
ribbon
have
nonetheless.
deserved a friendly ribbon
Yeah,
nonetheless.
100%, yeah. But I thought if I'm going to do it properly, I need to give myself the time, the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
To really go for it. And so I did. I took that leap, and I auditioned at several drama schools. I auditioned. I think I auditioned at 5 or 6. I think in total. And I was lucky enough to be offered a place on the BA, the degree scheme through Italia Conti, Academy of Theatre Arts, which at the time was based in London. And I mean, you'll know yourself from how this works from your own experience.
I do indeed,
It is a brutal process
where
you put yourself out there and just let somebody effectively go at you with a microscope and prod and poke everything about you.
Yeah.
And then they decide, yes, we like you or we don't.
Yeah.
And so it does feel deeply personal. But Italia Conti was actually the last of my auditions, and I'd had some success along the way. But I mean, ultimately, the only BA course I was offered happily was the one that I actually felt I had the greatest connection to. So I was really, really pleased about that, and so that then set me up well for when I was going to jump out of uniform, because in a lot of ways actually, because I left one safety bubble, something I'd grown up in, this universe that I was entirely comfortable in and loved, and just went into another bubble for effectively another 3 years.
Yeah.
Much smaller group, much intense in its own way.
Yes.
Very, very different, and it helped me to get set up on the other side for whatever else may come.
Yeah.
And so finished my training 6 months before COVID.
And actually, when we met and you told me that you were entering the world of acting, for those of you that haven't been listening regularly and don't already know that, yes, I did in fact also go to drama school and know a little bit about how this works. That couldn't have been a worse time really to try and enter the industry. It sucked. So, and I feel my heart really goes out to anyone that graduated at that time, because the arts just died a bit of a death, didn't it?
Yeah, it was really tough. I was in quite a fortunate position at that stage, because I mean, I look at the friends that I went through training with and those who I've met, and people, individual experiences may vary in a pandemic, right? And everyone had a very, very different time. I was very fortunate. I ended up mobilising and went back to support the armed forces through its support in Operation Rescript throughout COVID, and had an absolutely nuts best part of 18 months doing all sorts of crazy things, and amazing experience. And I was very lucky that I had that KSE, that knowledge, skills and experience that the army wanted to draw me back in.
Yeah.
So lovely. I could crack on with something. It wasn't what I left the army to do, and for a short period I found I'd left the army to rejoin the army. But I was very, very grateful to have it, and very happy to be able to get back into service.
Yes.
And I wasn't living in a flat going nuts on my own, which would have been the alternative, I think, at that stage.
Yes.
But I then left that, and as you say, the arts really did suffer on the back of it, and getting things back going again. Rightly so, the students from the years behind me at drama school got as much support as could physically be given to them at that stage, because they were graduating in a time when agents couldn't go and see showcases, and for those who don't know, a showcase is effectively a cattle market for actors, where you have moments on stage where you say, please take me, I'm the one that you want to employ, I'm really good. And they will just be scribbling notes and think, yes, I want to have a chat with that person, no, I don't want to have a chat with that person. It's savage.
It is savage.
But you can't do that in a pandemic in the same way. So support was given to those years that followed, and it did there was I think a sense from those who, in my class, that there's a fraction of neglect going on towards our year here, because we've had all of 6 months and then it's kind of left behind.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You've got to make lemonade with the lemons you're given, right? And so I've cracked on, and I'm still represented. I'm still auditioning. I'm still hoping that is going to continue. And the wonderful thing about acting is all that changes is your casting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
And you go from being what could be romantic lead to fat dad. And I'd be very happy to play fat dad. So if any of you are looking for a fat dad,
this is the guy.
Yeah. I'll eat whatever you need me to eat, okay?
Fat boy breakfast.
Yeah, there we go.
Actually, because when we were warming up at the episode, you were talking. I will add that into the bloopers.
Yeah. It will make sense.
It'll all make sense. So if you want that little Easter egg, keep watching. However, yeah, exactly. You're right. It's just your casting bracket that changes, and it is one of those. It's a bit of a life calling for any of you out there that have served and fancy being an actor. Don't be shy. Like, it's just one of these things. You never stop being an actor, in the same way that you never stop being a soldier.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's something that lives and breathes within you
Yeah.
at all times.
And although things definitely didn't go to plan, I wouldn't change the route that I've taken for several reasons.
Yeah.
So there's a great deal that I'm actually grateful for with the way that things have played out. So first off, from the Army's perspective, as I said, I loved it. I could have happily stayed. And I have carried on serving as a reservist since.
Mm-hmm.
And that scratches an itch for me.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to continue to do that. And I do take that very seriously. And I've had an amazing opportunity through that, from whether that's through green training or through the kind of the extracurricular stuff I do. And I've got a pretty heavy hand involved in supporting the Army's winter sports side of life.
Lovely.
So
Yeah, nice.
awesome opportunity for me. And outside of that, I have gone into business with a really good buddy of mine from drama school, and we've set up a company called Speech Hub, which we, as you attested to before, we have come here and delivered workshops to people. But it is a communications coaching business to help people to ultimately be more effective, more impactful communicators, and it's great.
So out of that period, COVID and everything, it is safe to say that Speech Hub, which is what we're here really predominantly to promote and to get the word out there about, wouldn't exist. And that is a great example of how, well, up here in Scotland, or in Glasgow where I'm from, my granny would say, what's for you'll no go buy you hen. And that is really true. And
Yeah.
I think the work that you guys are starting to do now, which we're about to get into, is something that I think is really valuable now to the veterans services space that we're in. And I think it would be a real shame if Speech Hub didn't exist. So
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal, and it just shows that, what's meant to be is meant to be. So you and Tom, COVID's happening, nobody's acting, and you just thought, let's start a business.
That's pretty much, yeah. And in fact, actually, I'll take that line and maybe we can put that on our website. It would be a shame if this didn't exist. That's a great bit of advertising. Thank you very much.
I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. 3 stars. So
3 out of 5 stars. It would be a shame.
Perfect. That's just perfect. Lovely. Tom, if you're watching.
Sorry, Tom. I am going to have to clip this.
No.
And I am probably just going to put this one clip out.
Excellent.
Oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to start again?
No, not at all. Let's carry on.
Okay,
I'm good.
Okay, go.
Yeah, we were. I mean, how did that?
I'm so sorry.
My thoughts. Not at all.
I just said actually funny 3 stars. You're a shame. Anyway, whew. Right, Jane, you're the host. Get your shit together.
Connor, you do communications coaching. Get your shit together.
I know. God,
Okay.
Connor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right. Okay.
right.
Again. So, Speech Hub. Yeah, it didn't come around immediately. Actually, so Tom during the pandemic was one of those people. I will say about him that he is absolutely a self-starter. He found himself living in that situation where work wasn't available to him. So great, I'm going to go and do my own thing. And he started doing communications coaching online as a freelancer.
And this is while you were kind of back.
This was while I was
Assisting.
drinking brews and helping,
all of that.
helping testing and all that jazz. Yeah, and so he was building this product for himself, this business that was just starting to pick up. And it's a shame he can be here today, actually, because it would have been great to hear it from his perspective. But as I understand it, from the way he's told me, he absolutely nailed it. I was just doing brilliantly. And no, as these things do, it has its ups and downs as you go. But he kept going and growing and learning as it was developing. came up with a really cool product. And Tom is a really personable guy, very, very easy to get on with, and a great coach. So it doesn't surprise me that he was able to make something from nothing at that stage.
Yes.
And when I got out of mobilised service and things were coming back down, I actually spent some time working in freelance in London, actually in property management of all things.
Goodness me.
Yeah, I know.
How did that happen?
That was purely by
happen?
accident, but through a connection through a mate, whilst trying to get the acting career back going.
Yes.
You'll know what it's like, Jay, but maybe, for those who are on the call or on the podcast don't, you have to make a compromise at certain stages in order to allow yourself, to enable yourself to be able to audition. You have to ultimately own your own diary and have a degree of flexibility.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I was trying to do and maintain, but also not just have a job that I was just scraping by, because I was at a stage in my life where actually that really wasn't an acceptable choice for me.
Yes.
And so by chance I ended up working for a firm in London that was managing portfolios, who were great people to work with, really lovely people. But I was not passionate about that line of work. It wasn't my thing. And it was only after I finished it, when a contract ended, that I actually realised how happy I was no longer doing it. Not, as I say, nothing to do with the people. Great people to work for and with. And so after that, I'd been tracking where Tom was going with his new venture. And we just started talking, and I was really interested in it. And he was being very, very generous, because I said, actually, I might start to explore this. Mm-hmm. So we got talking, and he was being incredibly helpful in helping me to consider how I'd get myself set up and the steps to follow, and the sort of material that people were looking like they were interested in or wanted to work on. Because what he was finding, actually, and what we found since, is that the pandemic definitely adversely impacted people's ability to stand in front of a group and talk.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
So much stuff has gone online and is now remote. People spend time looking at a camera on a laptop. But even doing that, people don't then think of the fact that they're looking. Sorry, I'm putting a laptop was down here, you can't see. Just realised that. Know where the camera's seeing, Connor. You've been trained in this.
Don't worry, to make you feel better, I then looked at the laptop and went, please be recording. Because these are all the fears I have for the 50 minutes that we sit in these chairs. I am sweating the entire time, thinking that the tech is going to fail me. So we will find out in about 20 minutes' time if we need to do a reshoot.
I'd be very happy to. It's lovely. I've been really enjoying being here.
Yeah, it's great.
And so he was, so we were noticing this about what people were experiencing, and Tom was being very helpful in getting me set up, and we just realised, actually, we've both got a skill set, we've both got things that we can bring to the party. Why don't we just jump into business together and see where this can go? And so we did. So the idea was born, and it was pretty embryonic at that stage. We weren't quite sure what we're going to be called, exactly what we're going to do, and we just spent a lot of time. Luckily enough, we lived 2 miles away from each other at that stage, in each other's company, chewing the fats and drinking tea, drinking beer, whatever it was going to be, something to get the juices flowing, the creative juices flowing,
which we all know require alcohol.
Exactly essential. I can work without it.
Iron.
I'll put that in there. What's in the coffee cup, Connor? Don't ask about the coffee cup. And the idea of Speech Hub was born, and so that was 2.5 years ago or so that the company was established. Mm-hmm. And most of our work is, well, we'll probably still find, most of our work is still remote and predominantly working with one-to-one clients, though we've seen a big increase in the amount of workshops and actual in-person sessions that we are running.
Yeah.
Which is great, and it's so much fun to do when you have an audience in a room, because people vibe off each other, and you're able to share experiences and offer points of view on what you might be seeing. That's, it might be incredibly difficult for a single coach to be able to pick up on everything. So the vibe in a room is just as important as some of the material coming. And so that's not just for those in the military line of work as well. I mean, one of the things we have noticed with all of this is that communication is universal. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, it is a huge part of what you're doing. And even with artificial intelligence coming in and potentially taking loads of work off the table for people, what it's not going to be able to take away is the fact you, as two human beings, will always need to interact And you need to establish a connection
Yes,
quickly
exactly.
to be able to work with each other, have that trust, to know that you're cooking on gas. And so, yeah, we love doing what we're doing. It's awesome.
Was there a little bit of a light bulb moment where you went, hang on, the military would benefit from this? Where did that link start to come in of going, hang on a second, I really think if we start taking this out to the forces, this could help them significantly? Because that's even before we get into service leavers, which, you know, we'll get into that as a whole separate thing. But actually, you do work with people who are still currently, you go in and do workshops, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
To people who are serving. How did that come about?
So it started off when Tom and I were brainstorming about setting Speech Hub up in the first place. We were working out what we wanted to be about and what we wanted to do. We came up with different areas of society that meant a lot to us personally that we wanted to support or find ways to support. So
interesting, yeah.
For me, that's the armed forces. For Tom, there are other charities he has a connection to that we would love to be able to offer. You know, whether it's anything from a discount, for example, through to offering schemes or trying to lean in and see where we can help. And so that's kind of where that idea started to blossom from. And then it ended up just coming to a situation almost organically, without that we ended up finding ourselves in a position where the opportunity arose. So I moved up to Scotland 15 months ago or so, moved back. I lived here before, and my wife and I now live in East Lothian, and put in touch with Heather, and we started talking, and Heather and I met for a coffee, and Heather is great. It's like I'd known Heather for years at that stage. And we just started talking, and as I was hearing everything that the OAS was trying to do, so much of it there were obvious moments where I could see opportunities. This is where Speech Hub could come in and get involved and could offer support in this type of fashion. And because I know certainly the army, but I know the organisation very, very well. I'm very comfortable with it. I have an idea of where people are particularly strong and where they're naturally aligned to the world of communications, but also the areas that people could do with some support to develop, particularly for getting out into the real world.
Yeah, so let's get into that, because one of the reasons as well why I wanted to record this podcast now ahead of your next workshop that's coming up in September is that when we put this out to clients, come and do communications training, come and do learn how to speak. We use that sort of tagline that you guys have, which is elevate every word. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a hard sell. Because people are thinking, I know how to communicate. I have spoken to everyone from soldiers to brigadiers. I know what I'm doing. And as we saw with the people that actually did come and got into the room, who maybe for their own personal reasons had other reasons to believe that they needed a little bit of help with their communication, the general feeling is, hang on a second, I know exactly how to communicate. But it's true, and we know from working with clients, and especially when Jo starts doing her one-to-one interview training and stuff with them, there are gaps in that, I suppose, transferring that over to civilian communication. So let's get into that. Tell me exactly why should every single one of our clients be banging on the door to come over and be in the next Speech Hub workshop in person?
How to filter that down to a simple message. That is a tough one. So one thing that people within the armed forces, I think writ large, have a tendency of doing is thinking from the point of we, not the point of I.
Yes.
And so they don't necessarily see the importance of selling themselves.
Yes.
And they feel uncomfortable in selling themselves. And that becomes obvious when you get people who might stand up, and one of the things we might do is say, tell us about yourself. All they will do is tell you the jobs that they've done along the way, or the projects, whatever it is that they've been part of. Great. That means nothing to anyone outside of the armed forces.
Yeah.
They don't understand that, and they just see, okay, cool, you've been part of a team. They might be interviewing thousands of people potentially for a role, right? They might have a huge stack of CVs that they have to filter and get down for what could be just one job. None of that is giving any colour to who that person is.
Yeah.
And it is making them attractive to that employer.
Yeah.
And so that is something that we're very keen to help people recognise, is that they need to be able to comfortably show who they are, who the person is behind the words that they're saying.
Yes,
but also be able to be comfortable with communicating their own achievements.
Yes.
And unfortunately, when it comes down to what you might think about what you're going to say versus how you say it, the delivery outweighs the substance.
Yeah.
You could write the works of Shakespeare, but if you deliver it in a flat fashion, no one is going to listen to it.
Yes.
Or how you're going to say it. So that's it.
And I think one of the things that I really observed from having done the workshop myself is that it's amazing how when you're in the military, and I'm not talking from experience, I didn't serve, but my husband did. He was 10 years in the Royal Artillery, and we see that suddenly all of that, when you're in the machine and you know exactly how to speak to every person and how it's going, then there is an ease, like anything with communication. When you're comfortable and you know what you're doing, there becomes an ease to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Suddenly, when you're being thrown into the civilian job market and you're going in for interviews, it's incredible what nerves will do to all of that you think you know how to do. And no matter how confident you might think you are, as soon as nerves are in the mix, like learning to handle nerves is a whole different skill, I would say, especially in situations where I suppose you do it like when you do drama school training. One of the things that we are very good at is being able to sell ourselves in like 2 minutes in an audition. So if you've got 20 minutes with a panel and they need to get a really good, well-rounded view of who you are, exactly as you said, as a person, not just as a cog that can fit into their machine, but as an actual human.
Yeah.
Your nerves can make you so robotic and so monotone. And we saw that a lot in the workshop until they got to the end of it. And suddenly you had these guys they came alive.
Exactly that. And you might be able to, or you might have a very, very impressive CV. You might have had all the experiences somebody wants to see in a job. But it's when you get into that room and have that conversation, whether it's in a presentation or in an interview, they're wanting to see who the person is behind that.
Yeah.
And you're right, nerves can be so inhibiting. They can make the difference between success and failure in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of it is something that if you're not aware of whatever's going on, you won't know how to help yourself handle that, and therefore you'll be on the back foot before you even enter.
Yeah.
And that becomes really difficult. So let's say, for example, you have the ability to concentrate is on a scale of 0 to 100%, right? You want to be able to put 100% of your concentration on what you're doing and the delivery of that thing. But if you're panicking on the inside, let's say that takes 30% of your focus away as you're looking inwards, not outwards.
Yeah.
That means you're only able to deliver 70% of what your potential is to that audience. And so that then puts you in the category of average of everyone else.
Yeah,
which
is
such
a good way of putting it. Yeah,
it's such a shame that we find ourselves holding ourselves back in that kind of regard.
And I think one of the things that your sort of training can also really help with is there's so many different personality types. There are people rather like you and I would probably fit into the naturally extroverted sort of category of things where we can walk into a room and we feel quite comfortable anyway. One of the other things that I think doing your workshop is great for is if you are naturally a little bit more introverted, a bit quieter, that's fine. You don't need to change inherently who you are. But what you can learn on the workshop are just little tips and tricks that just slightly amplifies your tone of voice, your volume, your pitch, all of this sort of stuff that just you don't have to change fundamentally the introvert inside of you, but it helps you present yourself in a slightly more energetic, engaged, and less not to use the word nervous again, but less uncomfortable manner. You're kind of faking it until you make it.
Yeah, there is a degree of that at the start. Until you get to a stage that you feel
then
more
you can
comfortable.
embody it and live it.
Exactly. And I'll be honest, coming in here into this unknown environment of whatever the podcast was going to be at the start, I had those nerves under the surface as well, and everybody does. But it's about overcoming them and feeling comfortable. When you do, you can then relax and you can be yourself and express yourself. And I'm not saying you go to a stage that you just end up putting your feet up on the table in front of people and just being yourself as if you were behind closed doors watching the TV.
Sure, your professional self.
Exactly, your professional self where you bring your character. And I challenge anyone who thinks of their time in service or any business that they may have been part of. If you think of those people that you looked up to along the way and you were so impressed by as a leadership, as a leader in that leadership role, it wasn't the fact that they were wearing a rank slider. It wasn't the fact that they just had the job that made them impressive. It was the character, the personality that inspired you to work harder, if that's what happened. And that's a really, really important part of it. But the stuff we cover in the workshop, it is that I hope those who take part would agree, the techniques that we're giving people is the sort of stuff with the aim that when you go into a meeting with someone, you don't just listen to what you're saying and forget about it 5 minutes after you leave the room. They listen to what you're saying and they're thinking about it when they're driving home at the end of the day because of how you've landed that message.
Yeah, it's not even just what you're saying, it's how you're saying it.
Exactly.
And that is one of the big things of it. I like what you said about thinking about, and I would urge anyone to do this who's listening, whether you're a service leaver or not, because of course this is just such a worldwide renowned podcast and so many people are going to be listening going, I don't know anything about the military, I just love the way that Jane Barnes communicates. God, she's so interesting. But genuinely, I would urge anyone, think about the people that exactly you said that you respect or that you just find yourself naturally drawn to listen to. And it isn't even necessarily that they are the most extroverted or even the most loud, but there's a quiet taking up space as well, which comes from your posture. The fact that feeling, maybe even not feeling, but appearing comfortable in your own skin. I suppose getting into the nitty-gritty of communication, so much of it is non-verbal. Because that was one of the things I loved about what you were doing in the workshop as well. It's that, how do you walk in the room? How people have made a decision about you before you've even opened your mouth to speak. And I think the difference of what we saw from when we started to how everyone got up at the end and presented themselves, it was like night and day of a difference. Huge.
And that point you just mentioned there is exactly right. People make their mind up about you instantly, and that goes back to hundreds of thousands of years ago when it's just biology. It's exactly that. You would have been living in small groups of people, and when you came across other human beings, you would be thinking, is that person a threat or are they here to help me?
Yeah.
And we haven't lost that judgmental streak within science. It's a survival thing, but now it's in a professional capacity. So more often than not, people will make the mistake of walking into a room and not be considering everybody is already judging you.
Yes.
They're already looking whether you like it or not. So before you open that door, you need to think about, what image do I want these people to have of me?
Yeah.
As soon as I push that handle down and pull a push.
Yeah.
That's when it starts.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thinking about our clients, our core client base, most of them are current service leavers. They're the ones who are going to be active, coming to our events and coming to the workshop in 2 months' time. For them, if we think about resettlement, and resettlement is it's a nerve-wracking time for people.
Oh God, yeah.
It's hard, it's rough.
Yeah.
And
facing oblivion,
and the job market today is a nightmare. So many of our clients, they'll be applying for 10, 20, 30, 50 jobs, and the chance of getting an interview in today's world, nothing to do with even the person, it's just a numbers game, and it is you kind of have to put your chances out there, and if you get that interview, it can be so nerve-wracking because it feels like that one interview is just all-encompassing. I have to nail it.
Yeah.
And that is what I would say to our clients definitely about the next workshop is think of the stage of life you're in now. You're not actually running at 100% of your A-game confidence because you're kind of sitting on the back foot of it because you are searching for a job. And if you do anything, I would come to the Speech Hub workshop, because you will nail that interview. You come, you implement these techniques, you'll nail it. I know you will.
Well, thank you. I would agree 100%. And hey, we cover an awful lot. 4 hours is. It seems like a long time, but actually it flies by.
It does fly by.
What we cover, but we cover a great deal. A lot of it is based on what we refer to at Speech Hub as our pillars.
Yeah.
So the reason we use that expression is they're the really, really important foundations to the way that we speak. But if you think of how a pillar operates, think of the Parthenon in Athens, right? That ancient temple that's been there 2,500 years. Those pillars have stood strong because they share the weight with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't work in unison. And so the areas that we cover complement each other very well.
Yes.
And we're just giving you a variety of different techniques that you can pick and choose what's going to work depending on what kind of environment you're in. Yeah. And so that in itself is a useful piece of empowerment to help bring out the best version of yourself. And then on top of that, as you've just suggested, we do cover that non-verbal aspect of thinking about how else we are trying to land a message. Because it's under 10% of communication is verbal.
Yeah.
The rest of it comes from the rest of us.
Absolutely.
And so often we just find we don't think about that particularly from a service personnel's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, a great deal of it is just either let's have a Brecon chop, let's say something, let's have our arms folded, let's have our arms behind our back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't think about how the rest of this is involved in how we talk.
Exactly.
But it's vital. It really is. And the crucial piece you've just said there as well at the end is that handling of the nerves and making sure that we're well set for what we're going to go into, because you're going to be feeling it. Those first few interviews, they'll feel awful because you'll be pierced and prodded and poked in ways you're not used to.
Yeah.
And you'll just assume that people have read your CV that talks about the fact that you were doing this job for these 2 years and think, oh, well, everyone knows everything about me.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
It's not how it works,
not.
I'm afraid.
To round things off, I want to put a wee challenge to you. Because a lot of people that are listening right now might be thinking, this is all very well and good, and I can't wait to come to the workshop in September, but I've got a job interview tomorrow. What do I do? Do you have some little quick couple of minute tips that listeners could use? Maybe they're driving in the car right now, ways that they can just get themselves prepped to help them, go into that interview that's happening tomorrow morning, 9 a.m, first thing, and feel like they can boss it.
Yeah, okay. So there is going to be a lot about that interview that will be out of your control when you're in the room.
Yeah.
But there is so much you can have a handle on before you get in to make sure that you are set for success, or as much as you possibly can be. So things like making sure that you are feeling good physically. Don't do anything reckless. Don't drink anything you shouldn't be before you go into that environment, because you don't want that deeply embarrassing episode to happen that you will talk about for the rest of your life. We want to avoid that. Make sure you're wearing the right thing. Genuinely, it does make a massive difference to people to feel that they are looking good and therefore aren't self-conscious, aren't worrying, so can focus on the task at hand. Get up early. If possible, do some exercise beforehand. Certainly do some warm-ups.
Yeah.
And by warm-ups, I mean vocal warm-ups. So the sort of thing that for anyone in the performing arts world will know, because you do it before you're going to go into some performance, whether it's on stage or on camera. But things like do tongue twisters. Make sure that you've moved your mouth a lot. People don't realise all of this here is muscular. Yeah. Right? In the same way, before you're going to go for a run or whatever, you make sure you warm up so you don't break anything and you can get your best performance.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it with our tongue, with our lips?
And that's a good point, because having done many a singing audition at 9 a.m, you might get up in the morning and not have spoken to anyone before you either walk into the audition, into the interview room, or have, if it's online, like open up your laptop to go on Zoom. Even just speak out loud for like 30 seconds, and just because your voice will crack. Like, you all know what it's like when you go to speak the first thing in the morning. You're like, ugh. Yeah,
and we were joking before we clicked recording this, but Anchorman, Ron Burgundy sitting at that desk. Yeah, he's doing his warm-ups before he goes on. All that jazz. Maybe don't go to that level, but do just practice saying a few things first before you're going to say it in that environment. Because
even if it's just like introduce yourself, like your name.
Yeah.
How many times, like actually when we're recording these podcasts, and I do it all the time, a lot of the time it's the opening. I have to do it like 3 times before I'm into it. So yeah, maybe even just in the mirror. Hello, my name is Ron Burgundy, and I'm here to get this job.
Exactly. Just do what you can to set yourself up for success before you go in. In the same way that you would do for any operation you might be doing when serving in the armed forces. Yeah, all that prelim work is so vital to the success of the actual task you're doing.
Yes.
And it's the same thing for an interview. It's the same thing for anything. If you're going to be standing up and presenting on stage and it's something you're not used to doing, all that work you spend beforehand just helps.
Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, Connor, we'll leave it there for now because we've been just chatting away, and especially considering that we had the whole conversation before as well. But it's been such a pleasure to have you, honestly. And for anyone that's out there listening, I would say your workshop, okay, the benefits to service leavers, as we've just spoken about, unquestionable. But I would even say to our veteran clients as well, if you are in post but you're suddenly finding yourself you're going to be presenting to the board, or handling even large meetings on Zoom calls and stuff, there really is a knack to all of this. So there isn't one client of ours that wouldn't benefit, spouses, everyone. So all come along. I will leave the details down below in the description of how you can book your free space, and it's free through the OAS as well, which is phenomenal, to come and join us at the workshop. I will also, your lovely colleague Tom has written an article, so if you do have an interview tomorrow and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I need Speech Hub's help immediately, I will leave a link to our newsletter, which is Combat Boots to Business Suits, over on LinkedIn, and Tom has written an article, 5 actionable tips that you can do right now before any interview or presentation. It's fantastic. It's also very funny. And in the meantime, that was a lot of talking.
You nailed it.
Thank you. In the professional's opinion, I nailed it. 60% of the time, I nail it every time. But Connor, for now, we will see you back here in September. Where can everyone find you online?
Well, thank you very much. Really looking forward to being back here in September. Our website, www.speechhub.co.uk, also on LinkedIn, and we do a lot of work with individuals. So if people aren't able to make the workshop but wish to invest in themselves, why wouldn't you? Do give us a shout. We have all sorts of programs we can do in a one-to-one, or we can come in and work with a team and help people to just enhance their communication skills. So
Amazing.
We'd love to speak to anyone and everyone.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
No, such a pleasure. And to everyone who is listening or watching at home, be sure to like and subscribe. I hope that you're enjoying season 2. I know that I certainly am. And join us for the next episode in 2 weeks' time. Bye.
Bye-bye.